Te parez-vous commencer? All right. All right. A lively bunch tonight. I like it. Okay. We got some ricotta stuffed shells, little bolognese, okay? The bolognese is something that, everybody should know how to make. It's pretty basic, but the procedure is not, okay? It takes a lot of time. Most of them are 3 to 4 hours. Ours is a little bit quicker in this stage, but the one we did back there for y'all to try was about 2 to 3 hours, okay? And really, it's just a meat ragu. It's just, you basically taking ground chuck, maybe some ground hanger, maybe a mix of both, and you're just cooking it so long and just letting it stick to the bottom, adding water, stick to the bottom, adding water, stick to the bottom, adding water. It just breaks down and becomes a ragu, and it's really, really yummy. You can use it for a lot of different things. We're going to use it for a sauce for some ricotta stuffed shells, okay? So we're going to start off with the bolognese since it takes kind of a long time. So to start the bolognese, we take some extra virgin olive oil, medium-high heat, and we have some mirepoix. Instead of Trinity this time, we're doing some mirepoix, which is carrots, onions, and celery. It's the basic of all French cooking, okay? And it's already small dice. This will kind of come through in the sauce in terms of the presentation. So you want it to be nice and uniform the way you cut it, and usually smaller is better. So I'm gonna get that pan hot. So just ingredients-wise, we have some mirepoix, carrots, onions, and celery. We have a good bit of garlic. This is actually a mix of chuck, hanger. It's like actually a local ground product. This is what we use for our burgers and stuff. It's nice and rich. It's a little bit more fatty, but what do we say at Gabe's Downtown? Yes, awesome. Everybody gets an egg. Okay, so for this recipe, we're going to put a little bit of all-purpose flour to kind of take up some of that fat and make a nice little roux. And what that's going to do is make the ragu real velvety. So we'll start with the mirepoix. There was a couple things on the recipe that I had to add. Up top, the 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I'll show you where to add that onto the recipe. And you don't have to have the flour. A lot of bolognese don't have flour. I like to put it in because, like I said, it'll kind of take that fat and make a nice roux and just give it a nice velvety texture. It's really nice. It makes it a little bit more rich to the mouth. And then the heavy cream, there should be a 1/4 cup of heavy cream on the ricotta stuffing, and that's just mixing it all together. So, all right, so we put our mirepoix on there, our minced garlic. So this is a time-consuming recipe, guys. So you really want to cook this stuff down. It's going to stick to the bottom of that pan. Just kind of scrape it off. Let it keep on cooking. This is the most important part of all cooking, especially this bolognese, is developing these flavors at the beginning, okay? I want to do some stuffed shells. I was making them the other day for my kids. This is like my kids' favorite thing in the world to eat, and I do it a lot at the house. But I thought it'd be something good for you guys to do. It's really simple, just like pork butt. It makes you look like a superstar. It's really easy to make. You can make that bolognese for your spaghetti, your lasagna. The same thing with ricotta stuffing. You can do a lasagna with it, layer it with the bolognese, and just different things like that. And I haven't done anything Italian yet, so I wanted to go back to the motherland. I'm not Italian, but just wanted to say that. I got a little bit in me, but not much. All right. So we'll let that keep on browning. For all intents and purposes, guys, at your house, this is going to take a lot longer than I'll be able to show today because we're going to probably be here for about 3 or 4 hours if we were to go the whole extent. But I'm going to do the best I can to show you what you want to do at your house. What we can do is make some ricotta stuffing and start stuffing some shells. Really basic, guys. You just combine all the ingredients. Parmesan, ricotta, some mozzarella. So the stuffing, we have the ricotta, the mozzarella, the Parmesan. We've got 2 egg yolks. The egg yolks are for 2 things. There's a natural lecithin in egg yolks that acts as a thickening agent. So the stuffing, once it cooks, it'll hit a certain temperature and there'll be a chemical reaction and it'll bind the stuffing so it doesn't ooze out too bad. So you still can cut into it and it has that creaminess, but it doesn't completely ooze out, okay? The heavy cream, you just kind of start with a little bit.
Could you use half and half?
You can use half and half, yes. All right, we got some nutmeg in there. A little salt and pepper. I try to get that, probably best if you get that, the stuffing, the ricotta cheese, room temperature to kind of help you mix it up a little bit. You definitely need a kind of stiff whisk. So right now, it looks kind of dry and hard to mix, but right now you have a lot of fats and dairy and stuff that's cold, so but once it heats up and bakes in the oven, it'll just kind of let loose and just kind of ooze and make a nice creamy stuffing. You want to get that mixed up as good as you can, guys. Get it all combined. Notice how I'm kind of letting that mirepoix work its magic. I want to just let it stick to the bottom a little bit and start caramelizing or browning. All right, so we're getting nice little coloring in there. All right, so we got, can y'all see that brownness starting to get a little bit in there? What do we call that? Caramelization, right? Bringing out those natural sugars. All right, so we're going to put the ground beef in there now. That's 2 pounds. What's that? No, we don't, actually, but this is a locally ground product. We don't have the room, you know, for a butcher grinder and all that stuff. In the new place, we probably will have room, and we'll be able to work kind of together and do stuff there, bring it here. So you want to kind of break that meat down so it's touching the bottom of the pan. We have that surface area on the bottom of the pan. Well, the ground beef up above that is not doing anything, so we want to get it pressed down in there to really, really brown it. All right, so heavy salt and pepper. Some ground veal, maybe a mix of ground veal and pork. Equal parts would be really good for this recipe instead of beef, or instead of older beef, I should say. You can. In fact, I wouldn't use completely all Italian sausage, but do half and half ground beef and Italian sausage. All right, so we'll kind of forget about that for a little bit. All right, so the shells, I just kind of hold them with 2 fingers, hold them open with 2 fingers, get a nice bit, hit it with the back of the spoon like this, and then bang it.
Gabe,
yes?
how long do you boil your shells?
I'd say probably these were, the way we do it is we do it by taste. We want it to still have a little touch of rawness to it, because what we do, after we boil them, we drain them, and we lay it on a sheet pan. We don't let any cold water or ice touch them to shock them, to stop the cooking process. So we let them cook a little bit shorter than usual, and then we lay them on a sheet pan and then put them in the walk-in cooler so we have that natural starch, and we're not losing any of that.
you do al dente? Is it called
Al dente, yes. Al dente was Zorro's friend.
It's close, Westlife. She's close. Isn't that close? It's in horseshoes.
All right, so
It's the wine.
so these don't have to be pretty, okay? We're gonna put all that bolognese sauce on top. Feel free to find a recipe for pasta and make your own damn shells, but for this, and we'll do some pasta one day. I promise we will. Baking and pasta is not something I enjoy. I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. So guys, with this ricotta stuffing, just think grinding up some crawfish, a little crab meat, putting in there and doing like a more of a seafood style. Even do like a little chicken fricassee. Chicken and some andouille sausage ground up, just cooked down for a couple hours. All right. All right, back to the bolognese. We kind of forgot about it, which is good. Getting a little bit of brownness in there. All right, guys, we're going to fast forward about 45 minutes or so. We're going to add some tomato paste. So we got that ground beef really nice and brown. In fact, it was sticking to the bottom on the outsides a little bit. We had to scrape it, and just keep on cooking it. Just keep on cooking it. This process really, in this pot at your house, probably should take about a good 30 minutes, 35 minutes. I always tell my cooks back there, just like treat your food like a woman. You know, respect it. You know, if you stir it longer, and she might enjoy it. You know what I mean? And she will give back to you, right? So. And there is truth to that. There is truth to that. You know, have respect for your food. You know, treat it like a woman. Treat it with respect. Give it some love, and it'll love you back. You know, so.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah, yeah. I'm not going any further with that conversation. Okay, I'm done with that. All right, guys, so we're just going to use some water. We're developing so much flavor in this pan right now with the browning and cooking down and adding all the ingredients in there that we're creating our own beef bouillon right now. You know what I mean? We're creating our own stock right now. But feel free, you know, some fresh jalapenos, some sriracha, anything you want. You know, you can really kind of go crazy with it. All right, so now I'm just going to let it sit a little bit longer and brown that tomato paste on the bottom. You want it to stick, and in fact, that's what that tomato paste is doing right now. It's kind of sticking to the bottom because what we're going to do is that's our flavor down there. In Louisiana, we call it gris-gris. But so we're going to deglaze that gris-gris and pick it up and put it into the sauce. So we want that to stick down there and develop for our flavor. So. Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and put the thyme and bay leaves. I'd put it in after the liquid, but right now, since we're doing a quick version, I'm going to go ahead and put it in now. You know, all the cookbooks and everything tells you to put it in a nice little bundle, tie it up, and put it in there so you can pull it out after. But I just don't think that's fair. I like to get it really mixed in there and just all in there, and you can pick it out after still. It's just a little bit harder. But I really like to get it all up in there. So, all right.
Do you use fresh thyme?
Yes, I use fresh thyme for this.
Off the stem before you
No, you just put it like I just put it right in there, and you'll take it out at the end. All right, so we got some nice browning down there. We're gonna add the flour, and like I said, it doesn't take much. And it really depends on your meat too, guys. If you're using a really lean product, you're not gonna really have much fat coming out of that meat, so there won't be much fat to suck up, and the flour is really not necessary. I like to use more of a 85, 15 for something like this. So you do have some fat in there. Like a mix of a ground chuck and hanger is perfect. Hanger steak is called, or the butcher's cut. It's a piece of meat. There's only one in each cow, and it's a piece of meat that hangs there. It's pretty popular now, but before butchers would keep it to themselves because it's just so full flavored and yummy. If you cook it over medium, it's garbage. You have to cook it like medium, rare to medium rare, almost medium. But it's really good for grinding too because it's so flavorful. But it's not used for anything in the cow. It's just there. So, in terms, I mean, the cow doesn't use it for anything. All right. Guys, also on the red wine, it just says the big red wine for deglazing, but go ahead and put about 2 cups on the recipe. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put that red wine in there, and then we're going to reduce it by half. So go ahead and put 2 cups on your recipe.
What kind of wine?
This is Merlot, but you want something big. You want something big. A lot of acid, you know what I mean? Because that acid's going to also cut some of this, some of the connective tissue and all that stuff in the beef also. So you want something with a lot of tannins. A big Cab, a Malbec, Merlot is fine.
So how about a Chianti?
Big tannins, yes. All right, so now we're picking up all that flavor from the bottom of this pot. The recipe that you guys have will definitely probably make about twice this, just to give you all an idea. All right, so you just want to let that red wine cook in a little bit. Now this part's important. When you add the water, you just want to add about an inch above the meat. And it's going to cook down, and it'll start sticking. You have to watch it every so often. And then you add about 1 or 2 cups at a time until really it's just how you like it in terms of how the meat's broken down and really came together. You don't want to add the water all at once. It's got to be Evian too. Y'all write that down. I'm joking. I got paid for that. I had to say it. All right, so we did about an inch, or almost an inch above the meat.
Is the water warm?
No,
So that doesn't matter?
it does not. Usually when you're making anything with a roux, which this didn't have much of one, but you always want to kind of go from cold to hot. So your stock should be cold. Your cream, if you're making a bisque, cream-based soup, should be cold going into the hot roux. And it's just kind of a chemical reaction. You'll have a more likely chance if you use hot to have flour, like pieces of flour balls in it if you're making like a soup and you're going with a roux. So you want to use cold water. And basically what that does, you put the cold water in there and it takes longer for that stuff to come to temperature. So it really kind of combines and breaks apart all the flour and stuff in there. And then slowly, instead of just shocking it with hot water. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So this is the part where we get to season it up some more. So who can do that at their house? Everybody, right? Yeah, well, we can do it for you. We can do it for you. I always give, if somebody wants a recipe, I'm not one of those guys like, no, you can't have my recipe. You're going to open a restaurant just like mine and put me out of business. they think they can, then they probably should open a restaurant and put me out of business. But you know, I give my recipes to really whoever they want. It'll never taste the same at your house. I promise you, it never will. So there's magic that goes on back there, guys. I'm telling you. You can, yeah. Yeah, a lot of Bolognese recipes call for crushed tomatoes, more crushed tomatoes than diced, but you can do diced tomatoes also. I just went with more tomato paste so I can build that flavor from the get-go at the bottom of the pan and stuff, and adding more to it. But yeah, you can definitely do crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes. Probably want to put it in place of some of the water, but just as long as you don't go more than an inch above the meat with any liquid. And that's what we're kind of doing, guys. This nice, you know, acid-based sauce, somewhat. It's not too vinegary or acidy, but, you know, the tannins in the red wine, that tomato paste, when we cook it at the bottom of the pan, it kind of brings out some of that acid or more citric flavor with the sweetness of that ricotta and the richness of the ricotta. So it'll kind of really neutralize each other and just be perfect in your mouth. So we want to bring it to a simmer after it comes to a boil. And like I said, guys, this is the part that's pretty time consuming. It's going to reduce down. You'll see, you know, there'll be bubbles everywhere and it starts sticking. We'll stir it, kind of scrape it off again, add a little bit, about 1 to 2 cups at a time. Reduce it down, 1 to 2 cups at a time, reduce it down. You want to do that for about an hour, hour and a half, really. I mean, you can go now. It still tastes good. Everybody would enjoy it. But you really want to break down that meat and create that ragu by doing this. And if we were to put all the water at once and just boil the meat, you'd have boiled meat. You wouldn't have a ragu. It's the same thing as making the method of a risotto. You're slowly pulling out the starches of that rice to make that creamy texture of a risotto. It's the same thing we're doing with this to make this ragu. It's time consuming, you know, slow. You know, that's the secret that the grandmother, you always want to learn from your grandmother. Take your time with it, you know, a little bit at a time. Respect your food, love it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and finish this one. On the recipe too, also, I felt kind of bad about this, but I didn't account for the cheese that goes on top of to bake it. Okay, so just know that you get a little bit more when you're shopping for the recipe. A little bit more mozzarella and Parmesan. Some cheddar would be good on this also.
Cheddar, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So y'all see the nice velvety texture, and I promise you, this one will be almost as good as the other one that cooked all day.
Do you ever make a sauce and add heavy cream at the end?
Some Bologneses have that, yeah. Some Bolognese have that. So, and this would be the time you would do that. And really what that's doing is helping out with the mouthfeel in terms of, you know, when you taste it, it's just be a little bit more creamy. And also add some richness to it. And also cut some of the big, bold tannins and acid we have in this dish. So this one, no. But you can if you want. All right. I like to do the Parmesan first. Mozzarella. So now, guys, everything in this dish is cooked, right? So all we want to do now is finish it in the oven by browning the top and making sure the ricotta in the middle is hot. So we'll probably put that in the oven for about, 375 to 400 for about 30 minutes. And then it will look like this. That's the ricotta stuffed shells with Bolognese, guys. All right, so we're going to go ahead and plate some up for y'all to try. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. appreciate it. That was a lot of fun. Y'all were an awesome crowd, too. Guys, thank y'all for coming. We did some beautiful food tonight, and y'all were great. And remember, at Gabe's Downtown, fat equals flavor.